Well, gamers, we made it through it. We finished the Desert Perpetual raid, also known as DP, in the 48-hour contest window, and that was some of the most challenging content I've ever done. But was it though? Wanted to give a full feedback video on what I thought about the raid, the contest weekend, the mechanics they put in the raid, the bugs they put in the raid, and more. Also want to give a shout out to any team that even attempted that contest run. Even if you went in and you didn't even beat a single boss, that does take some guts to do, because this was not an easy one. A lot of top teams did struggle. A lot of top teams didn't finish. I do believe that contest raids should be difficult. They should not be clearable for everybody, just because that sets a standard. I know it's like some elitist take, but I saw some people saying the same thing, and people were like, oh, you're just saying that because you didn't clear. Dog, I had 30 minutes left to get the contest clear, and I did it. That damn Hobgoblin, man. The Hobgoblin is what slowed us down, and then, yeah. But one thing we didn't struggle with is damage. And in the background, I'm going to show you right here is one damage phase of the final boss. I'm talking extra crispy. We were cooking. And our final stand here, which I'll show you right now in the background, there was still about 3 seconds left of damage, and the boss wasn't even about to wipe us. We were locked in, and I'm proud of my team. But yeah, anyone that completed that raid, you're a god. LFG is probably a nightmare on normal mode. But was it fair? Me personally, I think it was very annoying that Bungie showed this tweet. I wanted to talk about this tweet that they talked about. The power deltas in the raid were off. Kind of felt that. Primary weapons, they just weren't doing any damage to many enemies in the raid. There was a couple encounters where I could use my garden AR and I could proc volatile and, you know, destabilizing rounds, but it felt rough, you know. Even like rocket sidearms were not hitting good. Ammo was a problem. Rocket pulse rifle did really good against the imps. And it's a really good gun. If you don't have the rocket pulse, you should get it. I would recommend getting one with like rewind, bait and switch for like a damage rotation, and then maybe getting like stats for all, one for all for just everyday use, or like a rewind one for all. Where do I start? First of all, when you load into the raid, it gave me the vibe of Leviathan. You could sit there and choose which encounter you wanted to do first. This blew me away. I'm like, oh my God, Bungie actually did it. So where did we go first? We went to the Wyvern, and boy, oh boy, was that fight something. This first fight wasn't too bad, but the problem was there was a mechanic in the Wyvern fight where every couple seconds, you know, there was a mechanic under your health bar that I didn't know what it was, but it just did 4 dings. And when it went to the 4th one, it launched you in the air. Now you could either time it down and like do a little hop so you didn't get booped in the air, or just deal with it. Getting to damage in this fight was pretty simple. You just had to time the 3 plates. People had to time the mechanic and shoot the cubes while one person ran up to the top to get the buff to start DPS. When DPS started though, that chicken was mad. That chicken was annoying. Backpedaling to the center, forcing you to maybe not stand in wells unless you were using like a Thunderlord div strat. We used Acris with Lord of Wolves, but man, you're just chasing them. And Bungie really hates us standing in wells and just damaging a boss. And they made sure of that. This fight was definitely a crazy damage check. To kill him in 3 phases was tough. Now, there wasn't a lot of majors to mark for ammo, so a lot of us were just making sure that we could get enough Acris ammo and enough special ammo to go into damage each round. The biggest problem in this raid was ammo. Then let's talk about the raid flags. Oh my, you would interact with those raid flags and boom, all of a sudden you didn't get your abilities. Bungie, that's a problem. Then mechanics stopped working. You'd try and shoot a mechanic and it wouldn't work. You'd get soft lock. I saw clips of some people not even being able to complete mechanics because their instance was bugged. That was a bad look on Bungie for that. Overall, that encounter was something. Not my favorite, but it was definitely a skill check. And I don't know, just knowing that when you had to start damage, you had to be precise. That's what made that encounter fun for me. So it was pretty solid. I'd give it a good 6 out of 10. So before I go into the second encounter and talk about it, I want to go back to the Destiny 2 tweet, and they wanted to tell you about the power deltas for the contest difficulty. They're seeing reports of enemies being at a higher delta than what activities advertised. Example, enemies have a skull icon next to them instead of a sword. It's pathetic. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it on here. Boo for Bungie on this. I don't know what this means. Does this mean that contest over the weekend was harder than it was supposed to be because of addent? Like, I don't know. We do know that those health bars though are the boss. A lot of people think that damage shouldn't be that difficult on each boss, and I say it should, because we went from last expansion to being so overpowered with Queen Breaker and other loadouts that everything just died, to going into a boss rush challenge raid like the desert and just being absolutely humbled. Now, the bad part of the damage check was if you didn't have a 4090 with, you know, a crazy ram stick to loadout swap 6 times in one raid in each encounter, you might have not beaten it. But I do want to point out that it's been confirmed that there was console clears on the PS5. I don't know about Xbox, but I'm sure the API will release those stats soon. And I want to say congratulations to those guys, because dude, I was loadout swapping like crazy, which is kind of weird. I do want to talk about how Bungie brought this up. They want to make content so it's not menu gameplay. Please explain, Bungie, what you meant by that by creating a raid that required you to be in your menu at all times. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that one, Bungie. Next, let's talk about PC crashes after 5 hours with certain hardware configurations. So pretty much what this says, if you got a good PC, you're going to get crashes. This has been going on for years and they just addressed it. So GG. Third, rally flags were not refreshing ammo. Yeah, we know that. Feedback that we're seeing. Some players are concerned that clearing this content required loadout swap and lengthy ad clear phases to stockpile ammo in near perfect execution. I do agree with that. It does. Some players feel contest difficulty may have been tuned too high for this raid, so that only an incredibly small portion of the community could have a shot at completing it. In my opinion, that is good. It's okay, because as soon as Worlds First cleared, normal was available. You only get one shot a year at this. You only get one raid belt a year. If you ain't first, you're last. And by the way, Snazzy's first. You know, that guy's a god, you know, the grappling god himself. And congratulations to his team. But that doesn't mean that everybody should be able to beat it. We don't want another Ron 2.0. Root of Nightmares got made fun of. And what has Bungie done since Root of Nightmares? They've upped the difficulty every raid after that. But this raid could have been launched a little better so that there wasn't bugs and you didn't have to reset your instance. I do want to point out right now, though, you can actually do contest mode in the game. It's a new feature that they added with this raid. Click on the raid, go to customize, and right there you'll see that there's feats that you can put on. And the last one is contest mode. So if you're looking to learn the raid and then maybe go in and say, hey, I still beat it on contest mode, me and my raid team are capable of doing that, but you don't get the emblem, you can easily go do that. Also, there's some other feats that you can do there as well, or do all 5 at once, which would be insanely crazy. All right, back to the encounters. Sorry for the yap. So the second encounter was the Hydra, and I actually enjoyed this encounter the most. But again, ammo. This is where it was annoying. The Warlocks had to mark Cenotaph all the Cyclopses. We even had to spawn a Cyclops right before damage so that we had extra ammo while damaging. Again, Bungie, we should not have to force the Warlock on Cenotaph for every encounter. That's just cutting their nuts off. It's annoying. I would not want to play Warlock with putting the dent head on and my team going, Mark. Yes, it's annoying. Why not just make these ammo meters generate ammo so we don't have to worry about hitting Aeon finishers and stuff? We should have the ammo on the ground if these bosses are going to have cajillion health. Put all the bricks on the ground so that we got enough ammo. I got your back, Warlocks. But I want to point out this mechanic. It was cool knowing that I had to go in the room and I had to stand in the light of the Hydra and tell my teammate which eye I see, and then they have to tell me, and then we shoot, and then the people outside, they got to do the mechanic and they got to look on the pillars and tell us which one to shoot. It caused panic because when I was standing there waiting to shoot the Hydra's eyeball, I got these little harpies trying to destroy me, and boy did they hurt. But when it came to damage, this Hydra had so much health, and while you're damaging them, you got a circle of ads that pretty much trap you right outside the boss to be like, yeah, go ahead and pop that well, but we're gonna destroy you. And then 2 random people get chosen and you got to go stand in the eyeballs and break the shield and then start damaging again, and hopefully your Titan doesn't thunder crash when it's immune damage phase. Boy, we've seen those. But Thunderlord is just I think Bungie loves Thunderlord. It's just a meme. The fact that it did so well in the raid. It was used on 3 encounters out of the 4. But yeah, this was probably my favorite encounter of the raid. So I'm going to give the Hydra encounter a 9. We're going to go with a 9. Next up, we've got this piece of shit Hobgoblin. I tell you what, the Hobgoblin is, I hate this. I haven't even done a normal raid, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to dunk on this guy. I hate him. This Hobgoblin might be the worst encounter of them all in the whole raid. And let me tell you why. You got guys upstairs, Chris Kyle, sniper. They shoot you through the walls. The countdown just, it panics you. Bungie didn't want you standing around in this encounter. So if you're standing out in the open, the copies of the boss are up on these platforms and you have a countdown. And if you don't go hide somewhere, by the way, I want to point out, you could hide behind something, but they can track you through walls and snipe you still. Man. But the mechanics of this was cool. Jumping through the coils and charging up the buff and protecting your teammate. That was dope. By the way, that mechanic actually bugged on us. We had a really good run going. I ran through all 5 coils. My teammates had the countdown. I popped the shield and the boss sniped all of us. That's when we had to reset the instance. But overall, again, another encounter just like the other two, to where you can't just all stand still in a well. Somebody has to go do something. In the Wyvern encounter, someone had to prevent the wipe mechanic. In the Hydra encounter, 2 people had to go do the mechanic to extend damage phase. In the Hobgoblin encounter, someone had to go run your tractor cannon had to go run all 5 coils and then shield the team from getting wiped. This was fun. This is what made the mechanic cool. But overall, this fight's trash. Ammo, oh my god. Again, telling your warlocks, mark this Wyvern, mark this Wyvern, mark this, mark this. While you're telling your teammates to mark all this stuff for ammo, it's slowing you down, and guess what? The next part of the mechanic's coming, and you have to hurry up because you're behind. Killing those Wyverns and killing those Hydras while you're under leveled was pretty tough. But overall, I'm gonna give this encounter a 5. You know what? Let's take it down to a 4 because I hate it. Last up, we got the final boss, and this boss was very, very intimidating at first. When you got to this encounter, chat was telling me like, Clyde, you only got 3 Hydras to mark. That's all you can mark. Right in the beginning, 3 Hydras spawn, and that's all you can spawn for ammo. So we were like, man, ammo is going to be a problem. But we were wrong. Ammo was pretty easy to make because while your teammates are doing the mechanics, a ton of Minotaurs are spawning. You can hit tons of special finishers for your Lord of Wolves. And it seemed like while they were doing the mechanics, we left the Minotaurs like one shot so they could kill them to keep generating heavy for them. Once we figured out the mechanics, we actually got the damage second try, which was dope. And we were like, yeah, this is insane. But when you start damage on this boss, here comes that mechanic that Bungie hates wells. I think they learned this from the Witness. So the Witness made you move left, right, jump, back corner, die. This boss has got some lasers in the air. And if you don't stand in the right spot, you were instantly melted. And while you're doing damage, someone had to go find the ring, the colored ring, and grab the buff that matched that ring of the color to extend damage phase. And while that person is doing that, a laser can just barely even skim their toe and it instantly kills them and ruins your damage. This boss was a damage check. If you didn't hit a certain damage delta, you were cooked. But as you see there in the clip, damage was not an issue for us. It was probably one of the best damage phases I've ever seen on contest, up there with the other teams, but man, we cooked. And we weren't cooking at first, but then we started to figure it out. My teammate Plane actually saw other teams damaging for Final Stand, and he was like, hey, this is where Final Stand is, so we should damage here the whole time so we don't have to move. Because the first time we hit Final Stand, we were damaging to the left. So as soon as Final Stand started, we had to rotate to the right, and then we were late to Final Stand. We actually almost killed Final Stand first try, but our runner, Lukey, he thought a portal was going to spawn. So he literally tractored the boss and then went to go look for a buff to jump through the hoop because that was the mechanic, but unfortunately that doesn't exist on Final Stand. So yeah, we had to tune it up. So once we figured out where Final Stand was, we're like, we should just damage here the whole time so we don't have to move. And what we noticed was the lasers have a pattern. They would move outside, they would move inside, and then when they got to a certain point of damage, they would go backwards. So we would just have to tell the team to scoot up, scoot back, or watch out, because the laser was going this way, but then it turned the other way. It switched its rotation. But we got so good at it to where we just absolutely smashed damage. And that was the fun part. I was blown away by how much damage we were doing. So what caused us to get the dub? Well, when we got the Final Stand, we called it out. The Warlock popped a well to get us to Final Stand. And while that Warlock, Shorty, was popping his well, he actually switched to Needle Storm, but he was standing in his well, shooting Thunderlord to push that Final Stand, and he got his Needle Storm up. So going into Final Stand, we had our 1 Warlock on well, 1 Golden Gun Hunter, 3 Thunder Crashes, and a Needle Storm. We knew this was it. It was 12:30. We had 30 minutes left to get the contest clear. Our Unk had to hang it up. And when we got the Final Stand, I said, kill this motherfucker. It was over. As soon as Final Stand started, I was already shooting the boss with immune shots with the Lord of Wolves. We made a plan. We said, hey, 3 clips of Lord of Wolves, and then we super, and this guy dies. And that's exactly what we did. As soon as I saw the 3 clips of Lord of Wolves do damage, and as soon as I popped my super, I knew the boss was dead. Overall, this final boss was amazing. I'm gonna give it a solid 9 out of 10 as well. I think it was well put together, pretty simple to get the damage. I think Bungie did a great job on this raid. I just don't like the bugs of us having to reset our instances. I don't like that the deltas were messed up. I don't like that ammo generation is still important in this game. You shouldn't have to sit here and mark everything. If you don't believe me, just go do content right now in Mythic. You're probably not having fun doing Mythic tier content because everything's a bullet sponge. Primaries need a buff. Ammo generation needs a buff. Bullet sponges aren't fun. Bullet sponge bosses, we can deal with that because it just makes you, hey, hit good damage or you're screwed. I hope Bungie learns from this. I hope the community learns something from this. I think Bungie just might have jumped too soon on a hard raid like this because we just came off a year of being godlike and just one-shotting everything since Salvation's Edge. But now Bungie's pretty much made a standard like, hey, you like standing in wells? Here's a mechanic. Hey, you think you can out damage our boss? Here's a boss. I think they keep cooking. I thought this DLC was going to be a bust, but the raid does carry. So overall, Bungie, good job on the raid. Just fix these bugs because it's definitely unacceptable. I think the bugs hurt the raid race. I think resetting the instances hurts. The Delta power changes hurts. And also, why did Bungie buff the enemies in the old raids? People are telling me they're doing some of the old raids and they feel like the enemies got spongy as well. Oh, also, I forgot one thing. I was doing the raid on day one and the drops I got from beating the encounters were crap. We got to work on that. The rocket launcher, though, the rocket launcher exotic is pretty cool. The fact that you can just hold down the charged rocket launcher shot when the meter is full and do more damage than a charged parasite and might even be more damage than a Titan Thunder Crash. It seems like we're gonna have fun with this rocket launcher. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my spiel about the raid. I know you guys love watching my yaps and my opinions. Hopefully you and your team had fun. Seems like a fun raid. I'm gonna head to GCX this weekend, and when I get back, I'm gonna be doing the raid with the community and getting more loot from it. I've heard that if you do some challenges and some triumphs, you get better tiered rewards. So we will find out. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.